Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik. Voss. In Secret Invasion, heavily implied that James Rhodes' War Machine has been, at least recently, a Skrull. Episode 3 ended with Nick Fury's Skrull wife, Varra, aka Priscilla, taking a secretive phone call that Fury somehow sensed was a Skrull high up in the US government, and the episode ended with Don Cheadle's unmistakable voice over the phone to her.
St. James Church, 1 hour.
I need to speak to Graphic.
Yeah, well, you're talking to me.
Now, while this is just Rhodey's voice, and he might still be in his human form, just in cahoots with Gravik and Priscilla, for him to be a link in the chain between Fury's Skrull wife and the Skrull General Gravik suggests very strongly that James Rhodes is himself currently a Skrull. But for how long? To help me break down the timeline of when we were with Rhodey and when it was Scrody, welcome our Inside Marvel co-host and Secret Invasion comic expert, Hector Navarro.
Man, I tell you what, this Scrody has got me itching, Erik. We gotta get to the bottom of this. Oh, do you regret naming him Scrody? Well, we're gonna go with it. Let's figure out when Scrody became Scrody.
Also a reminder that New Rockstars is now 3 channels. This main channel for Easter egg breakdowns, a deep dive for special film analyses from me, and the break room where you can find our Secret Invasion after show where Hector is on every week. Subscribe to all 3 and support our network with our Skrull inspired shirt from our nerdriot.shop. All right, let's get started.
Okay. If Rhodey has been a Skrull, we have to assume that he was at least a Skrull in every instance of Secret Invasion thus far, including in episode 2 when he met with Nick Fury.
So how long have you known about them?
About 15 years ago, I was part of an eyes-only top secret presentation. It's about a shape-shifting alien species that had sent a few of its light ships crashing down to Earth. The Pentagon was concerned that they might get it into their heads to invade us one day from the inside.
Nick Fury says that the invasion is real, it's happened, and Rhodey takes a beat to say,
That's not possible.
Now, we have to assume that the Skrull form of Rhodey might just be dismayed that Fury now knows about this, or Scrody might be refuting the Pentagon paranoia that Skrulls actually get inside our heads as part of this invasion. Like, to some Skrulls, that might be a mischaracterization of what is actually happening. Scrody might just be a government liaison trying to keep the peace with Gravik. But Hector, I don't know if you caught this. In this episode 2 scene, there was a glowing green exit sign over Rhodey's head. The color green everywhere in this series to signify Skrull, but my issue with Scrody, I brought this up before, is that for him to be a Skrull the whole time might just redefine too many of these great MCU moments.
You're absolutely right. So let's look at those moments. Let's go back to the first Iron Man. This movie took place in either 2008 or 2010, depending on what you're looking at. And here he was played by Terrence Howard. And no, he isn't a Skrull just because his character was recast. Relax, okay? Don Cheadle was just the next actor to play the same character. Here, Rhodey was probably safe. Iron Man 2 took place in 2011, about a year before the Avengers. Rhodey here appears on Tony's side at the Senate hearing, making a joke about the recasting. This would be when Rhodey would have received that Pentagon briefing about Skrulls, or maybe even before the events of the first Iron Man movie, if that film was officially moved up to the timeline 6 months before Iron Man 2, as the opening of Iron Man 2 declares. I guess we won't know for sure until the MCU Timelines book comes out later this year. Pre-order your copy now!
And be ready to get an update to that book because Marvel Studios is always changing that timeline.
That's true.
So Rhodey returns in Iron Man 3, and that takes place at the end of 2012, I believe 6 months after the Battle of New York. Rhodey at this point is now serving as the Iron Patriot hero. He's helping rescue President Matthew Ellis from a plot by Aldrich Killian's AIM. Rhodey also returns in Age of Ultron, helping the Avengers celebrate defeating Hydra, helping rescue the Sokovians in that movie, defeating Ultron, and becoming a fully fledged Avenger by the end of that movie. But I think in these films, Rhodey really did nothing Skrull-spicious.
You're right.
Everything changes in Civil War. Rhodey gets injured in that airport battle. He's incapacitated. He survives, he gets some surgery, and he ends that movie in physical therapy walking with these leg braces. But this period is crucial. The Rhodey gets injured in the battle must have been human. If a Skrull had taken that injury, when he passed out, he probably would have reverted to his Skrull form. He would have been bleeding some purple. Everybody's got bad habits. And there's nothing wrong with habits. It's just the bad habits that are bad. When you're in the mood for redemption arc, turn your bad habits into good ones with Fume. Fume is an innovative, award-nominated device that helps you turn your bad habits into good ones. There's no electronics, no vapor, no harmful chemicals. Fume is completely natural and uses all natural ingredients to give you a burst of delicious flavored air. This is where the core goes into. I'm just opening back a pack of cores here. Yeah, it's just a very pleasant scent. It doesn't like take you out of the moment, it just kind of lets you settle into it. See, instead of bad, Fume is good. It's a habit that you're free to enjoy and makes replacing your bad habit easy. Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets. It's super fidgety, which is perfect for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your bad habit. Using a Fume is like having a breath of fresh, minty air coming out of your new favorite fidget toy. Switching to Fume is easy. Over 100,000 people have used Fume to successfully break out of bad habits, and now you can too. Head to tryfume.com and use code NewRockstars to save 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfum.com and use code NewRockstars to save an additional 10% off your order today. So if we're talking about Rhodey getting swapped at all, it would have had to have happened after this point.
So then, cut to 2 years later in Avengers Infinity War, Rhodey survives the snap and joins the other Avengers in the Captain Marvel mid-credits scene. Could this Rhodey have been a Skrull? It's been 2 years, like we were saying. Rhodey has recovered, but what if a Skrull replaced him and used their more enhanced durability to recover faster? Then you get to Avengers Endgame. Rhodey spends time with the Avengers during the blip, helps with the time heist, and witnesses the death of his best friend, Tony Stark. If this was a Skrull, he's the best damn Skrull actor in the history of Skrullos. And then we gotta mention The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which took place in 2024, a few months after Endgame. Here, Rhodey meets with Sam Wilson in the Smithsonian to talk about the responsibilities of being an Avenger. And it's a performance that won Don Cheadle an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series, that he was surprised at too, Don Cheadle. It's great.
Now, Marvel has announced a future title, Armor Wars, which will be a film starring Don Cheadle. We gotta assume that the Rhodey of this film will be the real Rhodey, because I just don't think the studio will expect the average viewers, the second and third weekend fans, to know that the Don Cheadle starring in this movie is an extraterrestrial shapeshifter on top of all that.
That'd be a wild trailer, let me tell you. That would be so wild if that's what they did. Maybe I'm just an old sentimental such and such, Erik, but my theory is that Rhodey was replaced after the events of Avengers Endgame, and maybe even the events of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, simply because I can't see Marvel Studios ripping those emotional moments away from fans.
I completely agree, Hector. Marvel Studios has just been so careful when it comes to the events of Avengers Endgame to avoid changing any of the context of what those characters were going through in that epic film. If Rhodey had been swapped out for a Skrull during or after the events of Civil War, that would mean it was a Skrull who traveled back in time with the Avengers, a Skrull who pontificated on killing Thanos as a baby, a Skrull who cried at Tony's side upon his death. But when you go back to actually watch the Falcon and the Winter Soldier scene, what exactly does Rhodey say to Sam? Let's check it out.
World's a crazy place right now. Allies are now enemies. Alliances are all torn apart. The world's broken. Everybody's just looking for somebody to fix it.
Yeah, then they stop in front of Cap's uniform and shield, and Rhodey tells Sam, "It's a new day, brother." I don't know, it's not the craziest couple of lines to redefine as something a Skrull might say.
Yeah.
And while Marvel Studios might consider Rhodey in Endgame to be untouchable, his cameo in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, while Emmy nominated, I think might still be free to retcon.
I think you might be right. But if Rhodey were swapped out by a Skrull before his talk with Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, it would shed a completely new light on those conversations. Makes me want to go back and rewatch those scenes in the first episode to try and pick up where the Skrull agenda might come into play. Did Rhodey try and deter Sam from picking up the shield because Gravik and his forces are wary of the symbolic power of Captain America? Or did Rhodey want to convince Sam Wilson to wield the shield for other Skrull reasons we aren't seeing yet?
That is an interesting theory, Hector. Like, think about it. He's talking about how the world, no one knows what side anyone is on. It's a crazy place right now, and the only person who could restore order that would be a Captain America. And without a Captain America, it makes the Skrulls plot even easier. So for now, I'm comfortable saying Rhodey was Rhodey during Endgame.
Yeah.
But either just before or sometime just after the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Rhodey was kidnapped and is supplanted with a Skrull we will call Skrody.
Skrody, agree! Boom! You looking for this? Scratch that itch, Skrody.
Oh, I'm gonna have fun saying that. Hey, subscribe to all three of our channels, New Rockstars, The Break Room, and The Deep Dive, and support us by grabbing some merch at nerdriot.shop. Let us know what you think about Skrody's timeline and whether this is a recent thing or whether he could have been a Skrull the whole time. Follow me at EA Voss, follow Hector at Hector is Funny, and at Heroes Reforged. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye, Hector!
Bye, Erik!